I checked his emails. I wish I hadn't, because what I found, I can't unsee. And I don't know what hurts more, realizing that, or understanding that there's nothing I can do to change it. At this point, I don't think it's about money. We're doing fine. He's doing fine. That's not the issue. The real problem is something else. He can't accept that he's no longer important in her life, that she moved on, completely. And in his mind, it's not just that she found someone new. It's that someone else stepped into a life he believes he built. A home, a family, a future. And now, he feels like he was replaced, like he was pushed out of his own story, what I'm willing to accept, and what I'm not. At the end of the day, I know exactly what I want. I want a partner who is stable, who loves me, not someone who's falling apart over a life he chose to leave. I want a man who loves me, not what I represented when we first met. I want someone who stays because he truly wants this family, not because he feels obligated. And the truth is, I don't need someone to provide for me. If I have to, I'll take care of myself and my son. I'm here because I love him, but I never expected it would turn into this. And yes, he understands how hypocritical it is. He knows. And if he forgets, I remind him. So now, everything is clear. The only thing that isn't is what I do next. So tell me honestly, would you stay or would you walk away? One comment didn't comfort me. It cut straight through everything. They said, when you look at someone through rose-colored glasses, all the red flags just look like flags. And I felt that. Because raising a child, it's not a small decision. It's one of the hardest things in the world. And the more I think about it, the more I realize something I didn't want to admit. Maybe when we talked about having a child, it wasn't real for him, just hypothetical, something distant, not something that would actually happen. And if that's true, then he never fully faced what this would mean. And that's not just a mistake, that's something much bigger. Because people who already have children, they know exactly what it takes. And that means, at some level, he knew. And maybe he was just too afraid to say it out loud, afraid of losing me, afraid of being alone. And I hate to admit this, but maybe I didn't look too closely either. Maybe I saw what I wanted to see. And now, I'm the one, living with that reality. One last comment, and it felt like everything finally clicked into place. Maybe he agreed, just to keep you happy. And maybe you didn't push deeper, for the same reason. That one hurt, because it might be true. Maybe we both avoided the real conversation, the kind you can't take lightly, because having a child isn't something you just mention. It's something you face fully. And maybe he never did. Maybe he knew, but didn't want to say it out loud. And then, reality happened, and everything hit at once. The responsibility, the life change, the future, and at the same time, his ex moved on, fully, and suddenly, he was forced to face everything he avoided. And maybe that's why this feels so broken now, because the truth is, what I want from him might not be something he's actually capable of giving, not the way I need it. One comment said something I can't stop thinking about. Anyone who already raised kids would tell you this directly. Once a child is here, it's not just about you anymore. And that hit differently, because it's true. This isn't just about me, or him, or even our relationship. There's a new life now, and everything changed the moment that happened. Our lives aren't just ours anymore, and for a lot of people, that realization feels like a loss of freedom, a loss of the life they imagined. And maybe that's exactly what he's going through. But the difference is, he already knew what this meant. He had lived it before, and still, he didn't say it out loud, he didn't face it. And now, reality caught up with him, while at the same time, his ex moved into a completely different life. Free, light, and in his mind, that's the life he already earned. Like he did his part, like he was supposed to be there now. And instead, he's here. And I think that's what he can't accept. One comment felt different from the rest. Not harsh, not emotional, just honest. Children bring a lot of joy, but they also change everything. Even when you truly want them, they take over your life. And I sat with that for a while, because it's true. But then they said something else. You have a child you truly wanted, and that already matters. And for the first time, I felt something shift inside me, because no matter how complicated everything else is, this part is clear. My child was wanted, and that means something. A lot, actually. I keep trying to explain this to him, that life doesn't always go the way we planned, but all we can do is move forward, not stay stuck in the past. The question is, will he ever be able to do that? At this point, I understand something very clearly. What's done is done. He can't go back. He can't undo his choices. No matter how much he analyzes them, no matter how many realizations he has in therapy, the past isn't changing. And I keep telling him something simple. Our happiness is not measured by hers, not by her life, not by her choices. Because the truth is, it's selfish to not want her to be happy after everything that happened. And I can see it now more clearly than ever. My son is wanted. He is loved. And that will never change. And as for my partner, if he can finally face himself, if he can let go of the past, then maybe he can be part of this life with us. But if he can't, then I already know I'll be okay. Because I'm not waiting anymore for someone to choose the life we've already built. And the more I think about everything, the more I start to question something else. Maybe I never really knew him. Maybe I met him at a very specific moment in his life. A moment where he was lost, where he blamed his unhappiness on his marriage, on his life, on everything around him. But maybe the problem was never really there. Maybe it was inside him all along. Expectations, restlessness, boredom with routine, and I just became part of his escape. And then I started thinking about her, about the life she had back then, while he was out in the world, meeting new people, experiencing something different. She stayed, at home, waiting for him to become the man she needed. And maybe he got used to that, to being the center of her world, to knowing she was there, no matter what. And now, she's not. And maybe that's what he truly can't accept. Not losing her, but losing the version of himself that existed in her life. And then I read something that finally put everything into perspective. While he was moving on, part of him still expected her to be there, waiting, like she always had been. But she didn't. She struggled, she hurt, she rebuilt herself. And now, her life looks better than it ever did with him. And he sees that. He sees her healing, growing, moving forward. And in his mind, how is your life better now than when you were with me? And on top of that, the situation with his friend hit his ego even harder. And now, he's back in a life he thought he had already finished. Diapers, routine, responsibility, and that contrast is something he can't handle. But then came the part I needed to hear the most. It's not your job to pull him out of this. One comment stayed with me more than the others. Look at his ex and ask yourself, are you willing to go through what she went through just to get to the other side? And that question, it's still sitting with me. Because the truth is, I don't know. I really don't. Right now, leaving feels too extreme. I have a newborn. I need support. And at the same time, staying like this doesn't feel right either. So maybe, the only thing I can do right now is give myself time. Time to think. Time to understand what I really want. Because this isn't a small decision anymore. It's not just about love. It's about the kind of life I'm choosing to build. For me, and for my son. And maybe that's the only answer I have right now. Another comment made me see it from a different angle. Not emotional, but painfully clear. They said, for years, he had her attention. Even after everything, she couldn't let him go. And maybe he got used to that, to being needed, to knowing that no matter what he did, she was still there. And at the same time, he had me. Whether he meant for it to happen or not, he was getting attention from two sides. And maybe that created something he didn't even realize. A sense of control, a belief that she would always be his, in some way. And now, she's not. She moved on, completely. And not just with anyone, but with someone close to him. And I think that shattered something inside him. Not just emotionally, but at the level of his identity. Because after all those years, he never really imagined a world where she didn't revolve around him. And now, he has to face exactly that. One of the last comments made me stop and think again. What if that trip was something they once dreamed about together? And now, she's living it, just not with him. And maybe that's part of what hurts so much. But the truth is, he walked away from that life. And no matter how much it hurts now, that doesn't change. Then came the part I couldn't ignore. There are no simple answers here. And that's exactly how it feels. Because yes, a child is joy, but it's also pressure, stress, responsibility. And the only way through that is communication. Real communication. Not avoidance, not silence. So now I know what I need to do next. We need to talk. Honestly. Clearly. Maybe even with help. Because therapy for him is a start. But it might not be enough. And there have to be boundaries. Real ones. No more alcohol. No more avoidance. No more living in the past. Because if we're going to move forward, it has to be real. Or not at all. The more I learned, the more complicated it all became. Because this wasn't just a random person. They met in college. They were close for years. He wasn't just a friend. He was part of the family. He spent time with the kids, supported them, especially when my partner was away on work trips. And over time, the boys started to see him almost like a second father. They still do. Their relationship is strong. And I think that's part of what makes this so hard for him to accept. Because it's not just about her. It's not just about the past. It's about someone he trusted becoming part of that life. Taking a place he thought would always be his. And maybe the most confusing part for him is this. He never even saw it coming. In his mind, she was never his friend's type. Not even close. And yet, here they are. And everything he thought he understood doesn't make sense anymore. And then there's this part, the one that still doesn't fully add up. In his mind, this was all planned, like his friend had feelings for her all along, like he was just waiting for the right moment, waiting for her to be free. But honestly, I don't see it that way. If you had seen the messages she sent him after the breakup, she was heartbroken, completely. There was no sign of someone secretly moving on. And the truth is, we don't even know when they actually got together. All we know is that now, they've been together for over a year, and his former friend, he cut contact immediately after everything came out. No secret meetings, no hidden conversations, just silence. And maybe this isn't some long-term betrayal the way he sees it. Maybe it's something much simpler. Two people who were already in each other's lives, finding each other after everything fell apart. But that version of the story doesn't make it easier for him, because it still leads to the same place. She moved on, and he didn't expect her to. And then I remembered something I didn't think much about before. After her calls stopped, after the messages disappeared, he started asking about her. A lot. He would ask the boys questions, but not simple ones. He'd dig deeper, ask for details, things they normally wouldn't even mention. And back then, I thought it meant something good. I thought he was happy for her, that he wanted to know she was doing better, that she was moving on. And honestly, she was. She started rebuilding her life, running, yoga, retreats, travel, a full-time job. She didn't just survive, she transformed, and I respected that. I really did. But now, looking back, I see it differently. Maybe he wasn't asking because he was happy for her. Maybe he was watching, trying to understand how her life was changing without him. And maybe that's when all of this really started. And then, something else became clear. The sailboat was never his dream. He actually hates boats. That was her dream. A whole list of things she wanted to do with her life. And now, she's finally doing them, with someone who's happy to be part of that journey. And honestly, I'm happy for her. I really am. I know how this might sound, like I'm bitter, like I'm jealous. But the truth is, I'm just tired. I have a newborn. I'm not sleeping. I'm trying to figure everything out. And despite everything, he is here. He loves our son. He's proud to be his father. He helps. He's done this before. And sometimes that experience shows. And maybe that's where I need to start. Not with answers, but with actions. Real ones. We need help. Together. So I think I'm going to suggest couples therapy, and I'm going to encourage him to reconnect with his sons. Because whatever happens next, it has to be built on something real, not the past. But what we choose now. One comment really stayed with me. She said I seemed self-aware, strong, and then she shared her story, and it broke me a little. She got pregnant around the same time her partner was leaving his wife. Just like me, their relationship had barely begun. Everything was happening at once. The breakup, the stress, the uncertainty, and then the pregnancy. She said he wanted the child even more than she did. He was in his 50s, and then one day, he just left. No explanation, no closure. She was 7 months pregnant, completely alone, and reading that, I couldn't stop thinking, could that be me? And her story didn't end there. He didn't have children in his marriage, and in his mid-40s, he suddenly realized how much he wanted to be a father. But by then, it was too late. For many reasons. Their marriage didn't work out, and when he left her, that's when everything became clear to her. Not just the situation, but who he really was. She said she finally saw how troubled he was, and how much she had ignored before. And then, something changed again. He came back, regretting everything, wanting a family, wanting to fix what he broke. Their child was already born, 7 months old, and she made a choice, not for herself, but for her child, to stay, to raise their daughter under one roof. Not because everything was fixed, but because she believed it was the best decision for her child. Her story stayed with me, not just because it was similar, but because of how it ended. She said something that I can't stop thinking about. If it wasn't for my child, I wouldn't want anything to do with him. And that hit hard, because it made me question something. What are we really building when everything else is stripped away? She said they were better as lovers, and maybe that's the part no one wants to admit, that sometimes what feels intense isn't built to last. And then she said something else, something that made me angry, really angry. How can someone want a child, bring a life into the world, and then just change their mind? Like it's nothing, like it's reversible. It's not. A child isn't a phase. It's not a temporary decision. It's a life. And that part, I can't ignore anymore. I kept thinking about everything. All the stories, all the advice, and one thought kept coming back to me. I've known this man for over 7 years, and for the first half of that time, he lied to his wife, to his family, and for the second half, he lied to me. And at some point, I had to stop and ask myself, what does that say about him? And more importantly, what does it say about what I'm willing to accept? Because the truth is, I deserve better, and my son deserves better too. I'm not going to stand in the way of him having a relationship with his father. But I'm also not going to stay in something that's already broken. So, this is where it ends. We're separating. He'll be moving out in the next few months. We'll sell the house and figure out how to co-parent from here. Right now, he's sleeping in another room, and everything feels different. Not easier, but clearer. And maybe that's the first step towards something better. I thought I had already seen everything, but I was wrong. One of my friends suggested something to check his devices. I didn't find anything at first, not on his phone, not on his laptop. But then, he left his work computer at home, and I opened it, just to check, and that's when everything changed. I opened the browser, clicked on history, and it took me straight into his email. And there they were, emails, one after another, to his ex-wife, going back about 3 years, and more recently, to his former best friend. And the way he wrote, honestly, it didn't even feel real, like something out of a movie. Like none of this life we built ever existed. And the worst part? She barely replied. Just a few messages, polite, distant, shutting it down, over and over again. And in that moment, I realized something I can't unsee anymore. He never really let her go, not once. I read the emails again, and this time, I really let it sink in. He wasn't confused, he wasn't lost. He knew exactly what he was saying. He begged her to take him back, said she was the love of his life, that leaving her was the biggest mistake he ever made. And reading that, I didn't feel anger anymore, just clarity. I packed a few things, took my son to my dad's, and for the first time in a long time, I slept. The next day, I went back, printed the emails. I was ready for everything. Denial, excuses, lies. Because if there was one thing he had proven over the years, it was that he could lie. But he didn't. He sat there, calm, and answered everything. No denial, no panic, just the truth. And somehow, that hurt more than anything else. He said he loves me, but he's not in love with me. And he's not even sure he ever was. He called it an infatuation. Something that felt real at the time, but wasn't built to last. And hearing that, I didn't interrupt him. I just listened. He said losing someone in his family changed something in him, that it forced him to wake up, to see everything he had destroyed, his marriage, his friendships, his family. And when he saw his ex-wife moving on, living her life, it all finally hit him. The weight of what he had done. Therapy made it worse, or maybe just clearer. He said he had been going through a midlife crisis, and that it went too far, much too far. Now, he wants to be better. He wants to fix what he can, to earn forgiveness, to be a better father to his sons, to make up for the damage he caused. He said he was sorry, truly sorry, that I deserved a man who could fully love me, that he regrets the years I gave him. He said he loves our son, and that he will always be there for him, as a father. And maybe the hardest part was hearing this. He knew. He wanted to tell me when I got pregnant, but he didn't. He chose to wait. And now, there's nothing left to wait for. I feel stupid, used, broken, angry, really angry. But underneath all of that, I know something else is there too. this isn't the end of my story. It's just the end of his part in it. And now, there's one question I can't stop asking myself. How am I supposed to ever trust again? Because it's not just what he did. It's how long it went on. Years. Years of lies. And I believed him. I built a life with him, had a child with him. And now, I'm sitting here wondering, was any of it real? One comment stuck with me. He was always like this. And maybe that's the hardest part. Not that he changed, but that he didn't. And I just thought it would be different with me. I read something once. The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. And now, I finally understand what that means, because I ignored it. And I won't do that again. I used to think I was naive, and maybe I was, but I'm not that person anymore. And as painful as this is, I know one thing for sure. I see things differently now. Someone said something that stuck with me. At least you found out now, not 10 years later. And they're right, because as much as this hurts, I still have my whole life ahead of me, and I'm not starting from zero. I have my son, and he's not a burden. He's a blessing. And maybe that changes everything, because I'm not looking for someone to build a life from scratch anymore. I already have one, and if someone comes into it, they'll have to meet me where I stand now, not where I used to be. People keep asking me, where is he going? What's his plan? And honestly, I don't think there's anything dramatic about it. No secret life waiting for him. No grand escape. Just reality. He's going to rent an apartment until we sell the house, then maybe buy something nearby. Close to me. Close to our son. That's it. No one's waiting for him. At least, not that I know of. And honestly, after everything I've learned, I'm not sure I can ever be 100% certain of anything anymore. But one thing he did say, he's tired. Tired of lying. Tired of pretending. And most of all, he said it's hard to look his sons in the eyes. And for the first time, I think he actually understands what he's done. He says he understands now that going back to her isn't realistic, that he won't chase her anymore. That he just wants to make things right, to become the man he used to be. Before all of this, he talks about taking responsibility, maybe telling his sons the truth one day, hoping that his ex-wife might forgive him, maybe even be friends. And then he says the same about me, that he hopes, one day, I'll forgive him too, that we could be friends. And that's the part that makes my blood boil. So let me get this straight. He wants us to be friends. Friends, after everything. He'll give me part of the money from the house, pay child support. I keep the car for the next 7 years. And what do I get? A baby to raise, a broken life to rebuild, and, apparently, a friend. Wow. Just wow. I don't even know what I'm feeling anymore. It's everything at once. Anger, confusion, exhaustion. I want answers so badly, but I don't even know what questions to ask. I guess I'm lucky that at least he's answering me, because his ex-wife, when he left her, she got nothing. No explanations. No conversations, just silence. And now I'm sitting here thinking, maybe this was always going to end like this. I just didn't see it before. Because right now, it feels like everything has taken a very wrong turn. People keep asking me, doesn't he realize his ex will never take him back? Oh, he knows. He knows he burned that bridge completely. She cut him off. She moved on. She's happy. And honestly, good for her. So then the next question is, why leave you? And the truth is, I don't think there's an answer. I even asked him straight up, is this another midlife crisis? Because seriously, how many of those does one person get? And maybe that's the reality I didn't want to accept before. Not everything people do makes sense, especially when they don't understand themselves. One thing I do know now, though, I'm never putting myself in this position again. Never again with someone who already belongs to someone else. I know one thing for sure now. If a man ever comes into my life again, telling me how miserable he is in his dead marriage, I already know my answer. Come back when you're divorced, then we'll talk. But honestly, there's something else I can't stop thinking about. That phrase, dead marriage. Because I remember how he used to describe it. Separate lives, no time for each other, almost no intimacy, like living with a roommate. And back then, I believed him. I thought, wow, that sounds awful. But now I have a baby. I'm exhausted, running on no sleep. And if I'm being honest, there are days when it feels exactly like that. Separate lives, no energy left, just trying to get through the day. And that's when it hit me. Maybe what he called a dead marriage wasn't dead at all. Maybe it was just real life. There are nights now when we barely have energy to talk. Intimacy is rare, and when it happens, it's not some movie moment. It's tired, real. We're just two people trying to get through the day, raising a child, surviving the routine, no long evenings, no wine, no perfect connection. And by his logic, this would be a dead relationship. But now I see it clearly. That wasn't the problem. His first marriage wasn't dead. She was struggling, holding everything together, while he was out, building something else. It wasn't her, it was him. And that's the part I can't unsee anymore. I have so much to process still, but at least now, I understand what really happened. So what do you think about this story? Because for me, there were two ideas that really stood out. The first one, raising kids is incredibly hard, maybe the hardest thing in life. And honestly, after everything I've seen here, I believe that. The second idea is different. No matter how many relationships you go through, you always take yourself with you. Just like traveling. No matter where you go, you're still you. And I don't know. Maybe that's true, or maybe some people really do find a better partner and everything changes. Maybe life really can become something new. I'm sure there are people who've experienced that. But after a story like this, it really makes you think. But I guess this is the truth. No matter where we go next, we don't start from zero. We don't enter new relationships as blank slates. We carry everything with us. The past, the lessons, the mistakes. Every person we loved leaves something behind. Every relationship shapes who we become, and whether we like it or not, we bring all of that into whatever comes next. So maybe the real question is, what are we carrying forward, and what are we finally ready to leave behind? Let me know what you think about this story, and if you've been through something similar, I'd really like to hear your perspective. Check out the other videos on the channel, and if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a good time. Take care of yourselves.